Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm now delighted to be joined over the telephone by His Excellency Ambassador Gamal Bayoumi, the former Assistant Foreign Minister. A very good afternoon to you, Mr. Ambassador.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Ambassador, for joining us. And of course, yesterday we saw the speech that President Abdel Fattah ElSissi gave before the UN General Assembly. And he spoke in a very multifaceted, multidimensional way and spoke about Egypt's stance towards regional and international issues. Mr. Ambassador, what stood out for you in the President's address?
As a matter of fact, I was highly satisfied with the President's speech. It is short and to the point.
Yes.
And he did not leave any subject I would like to raise in the United Nations without touching it. And shortly and to the point. He talked about Africa. And by the way, I'm just coming from a lecture at Nasser Academy for 30 chief of staff from African forces. And we are trying to take a sort of common understanding among Africans to market for our case of Africa in the United Nations. The President said that Africa is the second largest continent in the world. Meanwhile, it is the poorest continent in the world. And although it is the poorest continent, they pay money to the developed countries much more than the money they get, because they pay the debt burdens and they pay for their imports. This cannot continue like that. And the solution, according to the speech of the President and his context, is to invest in Africa as a good chance for any investor in the world in order to have good investment. And the new element that Egypt succeeded to convince Europeans and Americans, China and Japan, the TICAD, that they invest in Africa with the Egyptian experience. This is a new element in the relations between Africa, Egypt, and the whole world. The second subject, or one of very important subjects that the President presents, it was the Egyptian case, that all the basic economic indicators in Egypt are positive. We have surplus in the economic the monetary reserve at the central bank. We have more exports, more investment, more remittance from Egyptians living abroad. So all the basic economic indicators for Egypt are positive. And this is a good point also. He talked about the problems in Syria, in Yemen, in Libya. And he touched also the Palestinian question, which is the main case of the whole Arab world, and we cannot accept less than an independent Palestinian state with Jerusalem the capital for this Palestinian state. I do not see that, I do not find any subject which we want to cover unless that the President successfully covered all the subjects.
Yes.
And of course, he made a lot of meetings with presidents of the United States,
yes,
with Angela Merkel of Germany, and with many other leaders. And this is a good chance for Egypt, for the President, to show our point of view and also to listen. We need to listen also to our partners to see how the world is looking to us and how the world is going to act in the near future.
Indeed. Mr. Ambassador, also President ElSissi talked about the Ethiopian Grand Dam, saying it is considered to be a matter of life and existence to Egypt, and he said they still hope to reach a consensual solution with other parties to this issue. How important was that, and why do you think the President brought up the issue of the Renaissance Dam?
It is very important, and the President was showing that we are a little bit upset, because the reaction lately from Ethiopia is not positive. Before that, the Minister of Foreign Affairs declared that the negotiations is not going well. And I technically, and as a diplomat, I don't see a real problem between Egypt and Ethiopia, because Ethiopia doesn't need the River Nile water. Ethiopia, the irrigation system is totally depend on the rains, not on the River Nile. Here we have the dam, and there are some technical issues we have to discuss. And I think as long as we are negotiating, we are in a good position. But the negotiations came to a standstill, and we need all the good partners of us and of Ethiopia to convince the Ethiopian to be more flexible and to listen to us and to see the dangers of stopping the River Nile of coming, or a part of it, of coming to Egypt. We cannot tolerate this. This is a matter of life for Egypt.
Absolutely. Your Excellency, Mr. Ambassador Gamal Bayoumi, former Assistant to Foreign Minister, thank you so much, sir, for joining us and for your insight. And now, of course, we bring you a report on President Abdel Fattah ElSissi's meetings on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly, where he met U.S. President Donald Trump. He also attended a dinner banquet hosted by the Business Council for International Understanding. More details in this report.
President Abdel Fattah ElSissi met with U.S. President Donald Trump in New York ahead of the UN General Assembly, which takes place this week. The head of state said that these meetings with Trump reflect the significant understanding between the two countries, adding that this was his second meeting with the U.S. President in 2 months. Speaking to the press at the meeting, ElSissi said that the region will remain in a state of instability as long as political Islam seeks to rule, and added that public opinion in Egypt rejected political Islam when it ruled for a year. Trump said that ElSissi is a great leader who had managed to restore control and stability in Egypt after chaos. Presidential spokesman Ambassador Abdel said in a statement that Trump said that his administration is seeking to boost cooperation, coordination, and strategic consultation with Cairo in the coming period in light of Egypt's pivotal role in the Middle East. According to the statement, ElSissi asserted that Egypt is keen to promote and cement the partnership relations with Washington, pointing to the importance of this partnership in boosting peace and stability in the region. The president said that Egypt looks forward to more coordination and consultation with the United States on all regional issues. He also underlined the importance of countering cooperation between Cairo and Washington to combat terrorist organizations. Trump hailed Egypt's successful counter-terror efforts, asserting that Egypt is a key partner in the fight against terrorism. The meeting between ElSissi and Trump tackled also economic cooperation. The president attended as well the dinner banquet hosted by the Business Council for International Understanding, a non-partisan U.S.-based organization that works to expand international trade by facilitating mutual beneficial relationships between its business members and government leaders worldwide. According to Rodi's statement, ElSissi said his repeated meetings with the council members reflect the distinguished spirit of cooperation between Egypt and the United States. ElSissi spoke about positive developments in economic relations, highlighting the huge and diverse investment potentials created by the mega projects that Egypt is currently implementing, especially in the Suez Canal region. For their part, the BCIU members lauded the attractive business climate in Egypt and the economic reforms and friendly business measures that Egypt has adopted, and the great efforts exerted by the government to push the national development process forward.
And to end off our special coverage of the United Nations General Assembly being held in New York, we bring you a wrap-up of President Abdel Fattah ElSissi's meetings with several world leaders on the sidelines of the Assembly. Stay tuned.
President Abdel Fattah ElSissi held a number of meetings with world leaders on the sidelines of the 74th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York. President ElSissi met with Italian Prime Minister Conte, where they discussed regional developments. Presidential spokesperson Ambassador Abdel said the talks focused on challenges facing a number of Middle Eastern countries. During the meeting, ElSissi asserted the importance of uniting efforts to reach political settlements in the crises in some countries such as Syria and Libya. According to the presidential statement, ElSissi and Conte discussed bilateral relations and means to boost cooperation, especially in the fields of economy and trade. President ElSissi also met with Norwegian Prime Minister Erna Solberg, where they discussed means to boost Egypt-Norway relations, focusing on trade and tourism sectors. The two leaders talked about the latest developments in the Middle East and Africa, and Solberg expressed his appreciation of Egypt's efforts to reach political settlements for regional challenges. ElSissi also met with the Belgian Prime Minister Charles Michel, and the two leaders discussed means to foster the bilateral relations, and the meeting tackled regional developments in the Middle East, especially the efforts to revive the Middle East peace process between the Palestinians and Israelis. During the meeting, the President congratulated Michael for succeeding Donald Tusk as the President-elect of the European Council. The head of state met with his French counterpart Emmanuel Macron on bilateral relations and economic relations. ElSissi and Macron tackled regional developments in the Middle East, especially the international efforts to reach a political reconciliation in Libya that could restore stability and end terrorism in the war-torn country. President ElSissi also met with Spanish Prime Minister Sanchez, where they discussed means of enhancing bilateral ties and boosting relations. ElSissi and Sanchez agreed that the two countries should coordinate in the fields of combating terrorism and radicalism and the exchange of information related to counter-terrorism. Later on the day, the president also met with Hungarian president, where they discussed boosting Egyptian-Hungarian relations in different fields. The two leaders also probed recent regional and international developments with mutual concern. ElSissi also met with Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan at the United Nations headquarters in New York. Recalling their meeting earlier this year on the sidelines of the OIC summit in Mecca, both leaders reaffirmed their common desire to further strengthen bilateral cooperation across the range of areas.
With that, ladies and gentlemen, we wrap up our special coverage here on Now TV International, but do stay tuned for more coming your way. And the top of the hour, we bring you the hour's top stories. Stay tuned.